Good morning, my beautiful friends, and welcome to day 7. Today is November 21st in our Celtic Advent study, and today we're going to be talking about a saint I never heard of, which is the beauty of this study, really. It's Saint, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right, Kentigerna, Kentigerna, the island hermit, and it's female. She's female. So we don't have a lot of female saints in the Celtic tradition. You know, Bridget being the one that we've all heard of, but and Saint Margaret, who we learned about the other day. And what I will say is that in vetting this Advent calendar that Grok has made for me, I am learning a whole lot about saints I've never heard of, and it's really great because it's a way to reclaim our Celtic culture, you know, specific to Christianity, of course, in this particular study. But if you're not Christian or if you're some other tradition, you know, it's reclaiming the Celtic interweavings of Celtic Christianity with pre-Celtic Christianity, you know, pagan traditions. So I've never heard of Saint Centigerna, who was an island hermit, but you know, one of the beauties of an Advent study is you get to study. So I looked her up. I thought it was a guy at first. So I looked up who is this person. So I just used Google, and then I used the AI dive down. So she was originally an Irish princess and a widowed hermitess. So she was the mother of oh, what is his name? I know it's in here somewhere. Saint Filian, and uh, and like I don't know if everybody was a saint back then. Like if you were an old Celtic person, like you just became a saint. Like her brother was a saint, and you know she was the daughter of this king, and then he got killed, and her husband got killed, and then there was a land dispute, so they had to move, and so they moved over to Scotland. Scotland apparently is where you go when you get kicked out of Ireland. I don't know. I guess because it's close. So she ended up living on an island in Loch Lomond. And Loch Lomond is a pipe tune that a lot of us learn early on in our piping lives. So it was great actually to go there and to put my feet into Loch Lomond, having played that tune so many times. But anyway, so she was this daughter of this king, and then she was the sister of this other saint, and the mother of another saint, and I mean, what a whole saintly family. It's pretty cool. And then they went to Scotland, and she lived on this island. And then, the island is called Inchcailloch, which is Isle of the Old Woman or Isle of the Nun. And it's here that she lived out her life as an anchoress, devoted to prayer and the ascetic lifestyle. And reportedly only eating herbs and water. So she died on the island around 733 or 734, and a parish was dedicated in her honor, and the island became a place of pilgrimage. And her feast day is celebrated on January 7th. So she's an example of deep devotion and a model of holiness, influencing the spread of faith in early medieval Scotland. So I Scooby-Dooed some more because, I wanted to learn a little bit more. And so there's this whole study where they're trying to find her chapel, and I'll include all these links in case you want to go down this rabbit hole with me. And they're looking for her particular her chapel, and I mean the pictures on here are great, and it's very very interesting. They talk about who she is, and then where likely her chapel was in relation to this particular graveyard that hasn't had a burial since the 1850s, I think, and some different structures that are there. But what I really like about the article is kind of what they talk about at the end is why do we even care? Why do we even bother to remember, these saints or these ancient people? It doesn't matter. They don't really have any impact on us today in 2025, but they do, right? Because they're part of our cultural heritage. And whether you're Christian or not, the rich tapestry that makes up the Celtic community at least the Celtic community in the definition that we understand it, you know, it brings meaning to our life to know these people existed and to think about the lives that they led, right? So we have the benefit of modern transportation, right? If we don't like where we live, like we can get in our car, we can rent a U-Haul, we can move somewhere else, you know, it wasn't so easy to just like pick up your life and move it to another country. You couldn't rent a U-Haul. Like you had to like start over. And and you're thinking like too, like these aren't landlocked areas. Loch Lomond is a huge body of water, and this is an island in that. So you had to travel there by land and then get there by water. So again, and then you built had to build something once you got there. Like none of this was easy, right? None of it was easy, but they were so devoted to spreading Christianity, because Christianity is kind of a new thing. I mean, we have the benefit of 2,000 years. This is like the 700s, right? So, you're delivering the message to the Picts who and the pagans who, have no understanding of Christianity or Christ or Mother Mary or any of the figures, Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, right? Like no awareness of any of this stuff. And then you show up with whatever you show up with. I'm guessing your horse and carriage or your stuff, and you're like, and you should believe this. But one of the things that is most beautiful about Celtic spirituality is that we were never conquerors, right? We went into areas and we fused with the local culture, and we worked with what we had there, and we blended. And you can see the evidence of that today in the practices that we do for, let's say, Christmas or Easter, the Easter bunny, the Christmas tree, the evergreen, right? Those are all pagan practices that were infused with Celtic Christianity, and so it's really interesting to learn about these different figures that I've never heard about, and to recognize their importance in the fabric of our history, and the work that they did, and the examples of how to live that they provide to us. So that's super, super fascinating. The hymn for today is shorter, and it's a very pretty hymn. And then the like how YouTube will play a hymn and then something will pop up after it. The one after it was also good. So I'm gonna post that. That's a prayer to Archangel Michael. Archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, and an invocation to them, and just beautiful, beautiful music, and really just helps you to feel rooted and grounded in your tradition, right? Like we've heard of the big ones, we've heard of Bridget, we've heard of Columba, we've heard of Patrick, and almost every account that we've read, there's always some line tying them back to Iona, which is fascinating too, and the somebody in Saint Kentigerna's family is buried in Iona. I can't remember who that is, because the kings were buried there. So, but there's always this always a thread back to Iona, and that's interesting. So, I think this study has been really interesting, and I think Grok has done a good job picking out people I've never heard of, which is the purpose of a study, right? Like if I'm going to do a study, I mean, I have a lot of information about Bridget, and she's, my patron saint. I love her, and not to minimize my love for her, but I know who she is, and I know who Columba is, because of course he's the one who founded Iona. We know who Saint Patrick is because we do so much with Saint Patrick. Maybe to a lesser extent, some other. Saint Margaret, maybe, not everybody has heard of Saint Margaret, but some people have. So I think this study really does help bring out or bring to light some people I've never heard of. So I think Grok does a good job with that. I think it also does a really good job with picking out hymns that are really good, or music that's really good that connects you, sort of in thought to whatever the theme of the day is. The theme on this card doesn't always match the theme that I see appearing. When I connect the story with the hymn from the our prayer from the Carmina Gadelica, or the YouTube hymn that it presents to us, I kind of sometimes think of a different theme, a different journal prompt or whatever. But at least it gets you started, and that is really the point of an Advent study, is to have you think about these things. So the prayer is, O Mother of the White Hands, keep me in thy mantle of mercy. We say that 3 times. O Mother of the White Hands, keep me in the mantle of mercy. O Mother of the White Hands, keep me in the mantle of mercy. I don't know what the white hands are. The Gallic phrase is, Thou Angel of God who hast charge. And then the Guardian Angel hymn from the Carmina Gadelica. So let us pull that up and see what that says. And this is, and of course I will provide the link in the description before. Let's read this together. Thou Angel of God who hast charge of me, from the dear Father of mercifulness, the shepherding king of the fold of the saints, to make round about me this night. Drive from me every temptation and danger. Surround me on the sea of unrighteousness. And in the narrows, crooks, and straits, keep thou my coracle, keep it always. Be thou a bright flame before me, be thou a guiding star above me, be thou a smooth path below me, and be kindly shepherd behind me, today, tonight, and forever. I am tired, and I a stranger. Lead thou me to the land of angels. For me it is time to go home, to the court of Christ, to the peace of heaven. Wow, that's a beautiful, beautiful poem, or prayer, or song. Unfortunately, we don't often know whether these were sung or said, or these were prayers or hymns, but that is beautiful. And we see this imagery, this surrounding, the surrounding prayers, be above me, be below me, be around me, because in the Celtic tradition, you didn't go somewhere to pray. Like, you didn't go to church to pray. You didn't set time, like the bells. You didn't have certain times of the day that you prayed. You prayed all the time, for all the things that you did, milking the cow, making the bed, right? Prayer was very infused into the daily activities of life. And that's a little bit hard for us to wrap our heads around, because we set time aside for prayer, often as an afterthought. So, I love this as a recurring theme in the prayers, this be thou, before me, around me, that's really, I think, captures the Celtic approach to spirituality, is that prayer isn't something separate. Connection with the other world isn't something separate. It's something right here in the present, right now. And that is, definitely guidance for us. So our journal prompt was, if you fled an island in the Lehigh River tomorrow, what 3 objects would you carry? I like that Grok knew that the Lehigh River is right by me. I don't know that I would, I mean, I think it's tying to that, like that, when you're exiled, like, what would you make sure you take with me? I mean, obviously I'd want my bagpipes and a whole lot of reeds. I don't know. I would want spiritual books. I'd want Wi-Fi. But I think more importantly, the more important question is really like, what do we value most, that if we had to leave our homeland, right? It's not just like the stuff of your house, but if you had to leave your homeland and you had to go somewhere else, what would you want to make sure you took with you? Is it cooking? Is it the prayers that your family said? Is it the memories of the people who went before you? Like, what, like, and you think about that with, even in the United States, like westward expansion, like on that Oregon Trail, like, what do you take with you? I mean, there's stuff, right? Like a pot, a pan, bagpipes, right? There's stuff. But more importantly, it's like that cultural memory, right, of the people that you left and where you're going, to make sure you keep those things alive. Why do we care about Celtic spirituality? I mean, I don't, like, my family hasn't lived in Scotland for hundreds of years. Why do I care? My family actually came from England via Ellis Island. So, they left a country to come here, And what did they bring with them, and why does it matter? Well, it matters because we're all connected through our ancestors, you know, to the divine, and our ancestors, we all want to know who we are, and, what makes us us. Because if you think about it, all the couplings that had to happen over the course of time to make you you, all of that together, most of it unknown, right? You may know back maybe 2 or 3 generations, but there's all of the generations before that that make you, your DNA map, who you are. And I feel that we as humans want to feel connection to the ones that have come before us. And likewise, we want to feel connection to all those who may come after us. I'm pretty sure my particular line will end with me. I don't believe my children will have children. So, this is it. This is the end of the line of this particular branch on this tree. This is the tip. I'm not a huge fan of podcasts because I'm too busy to listen to like 2 hour long things. I like things that are, under 20 minutes. And but I've been listening to Mayim Bialik, and she has a podcast with Jonathan Cohen. It's called the Crackdown, something like that. And I like her podcast. They have very interesting topics, very very interesting guests, and things like that. So um, I'm not sure if there's somebody at my door. Hold on, I'll be right back. There was nobody at the door. My cat was giving himself a little scratch. Anyway, so I like their show. It's very interesting. I'm gonna link it below, and I like her show. I did watch Big Bang Theory. I never watched Blossom, but she is so much more than the characters that she's played on TV. And she's a neuroscientist, and she and Jonathan do a really good job of bringing diverse people in, and it's linking spirituality to scientific discovery. And I like that because as an academic, I think we often struggle with faith in the arms of academia, and I think her podcast does a really good job, and it's actually one of the only podcasts that I can listen to. If it's really long, I can put it on my phone and I can do other things and I'll listen to it. So usually I'll read the transcripts for long stuff. So and I only bring that up because I think during the Advent season, in addition to doing this study, I'm trying to also find other things that bring meaning to the spiritual world. And Mayim is Jewish and very passionate about her Jewish heritage and spirituality, and I think that's awesome because it kind of mirrors my passion and everything for Celtic spirituality, and really at the end of the day, what we're both passionate about is bringing light and love into this world. But we're also academics, so we recognize that there are a lot of doubters out there that rest their laurels on the academy, and maybe struggle with faith-based ideas, and so I found that very fascinating. I was listening to one of the shows yesterday about this woman who has this amazing recovery story from addiction, and these are the stories that move forward. Like, in the Celtic world, I can't remember this. Her name was Betty, I think. She'd be Saint Betty, Saint Betty of the heroin files or something. I don't know, but she really had this like amazing conversion experience, not dissimilar to Saint Paul, right? Like she had this one lifestyle, and then Saul became, when he became Paul, and Betty was this she called herself a dumpster of drugs, and in an instant changed her life, and is now an advocate for helping people in recovery. So but I wouldn't know about her, Betty, if I didn't listen to Mayim, right? Like I wouldn't Mayim. I'm gonna make sure I say her name right, Mayim. So I wouldn't know about her without that podcast. So, I think Advent calls us to learn about different things. I'm learning about different saints through Grok, and the journal prompts don't necessarily resonate with me so far. They're a little, I don't know, I mean, they're not made, I guess, for an English professor. So I'll figure out my own. But I do like the hymns, and I do like the rabbit holes that I'm being given. So it's been a good Advent study so far. I will be traveling the weekend, so I will record tomorrow and Sunday, but they might be a little shorter because I'm sharing a room. It is Pocono Workshop Weekend, Bagpipe Camp. I go every year. It is one of my highlights of the year. I'm very excited to see my friends, but I will be here, and I'm wishing you all the very best and light and love. Be well. Take care. Bye bye.